listening to So Organised Style podcast, produced by me, Maria Theoharis,
and Susan Goodwin of Measure Twice, Cut Once Patterns.
Welcome to Series 2, Episode 3. So Organised Style podcast acknowledges traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognises the continuing connection to lands, waters and community. We pay our respects to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures and to the elders past, present and emerging. BHM Pattern Designers was initially an idea by Nateida of So Natural Dane. She ran this challenge last year, teaming up with Myra of One So Sweet. Have a listen to our chat about how they're running this challenge again in 2020.
Welcome Nateida and Myra. This is really good because last year you both did the hashtag BHM Pattern Designers for the first time, and it was quite fun to actually see the breadth of designers and patterns that are available to us that I had no idea about. So shall we start from there?
Sure. As many know, here in the United States, the Black History Month is celebrated during the month of February. And so it was 2019 last year. And also, in combination with my birthday is also in February, I wanted to do something special last year besides just making myself something. And I was thinking, what can I do different? That's, just a little bit different. And I thought, how about this challenge? And I'm thinking, I didn't know how it was going to go over or anything like that. But then that's when I reached out to Myra and just kind of told her the vision that wouldn't this be awesome that, everyone is usually already celebrating Black History Month with so many cultural milestones and different things of that nature. Wouldn't it be awesome to highlight pattern designers as well as different fabric companies that are Black owned and to really boost up and share this information throughout the sewing community. So that's kind of where it came from and the different reasons behind me wanting to do it. And I was so happy that Myra said yes, that she would help. Because as you all know, running a challenge is very difficult by yourself if you're the only one that's doing it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was ecstatic when she reached out to me. Working with Nateida is just super easy because she's just super easy to work with because she reached out to me and she didn't have a lot of things that she wanted me to do. She just wanted us to brainstorm and come up with something, and it was awesome. So it was a no-brainer for me. So when she reached out again for me to do it this year with her again, the answer was, of course.
So for our lovely listeners, what is the hashtag, Nateida?
BHM Pattern Designers.
The challenge itself is fairly simple, isn't it?
Yes, it is. If Nateida doesn't mind, I can say there's only 3 little simple rules that we have for the challenge. And they're really easy rules. One, which is definite, you have to tag both Nateida and I. You have to tag both Nateida and I, not Nateida or I, Nateida and I.
And together.
Believe it or not, we actually had a few of those last year that tag one or the other. And you must use the hashtag BHM Pattern Designers along with those 2 tags for us. So all those you have to tag. And then the second thing is you must use a pattern from a Black pattern designer. Now that Black pattern designer also includes designers such as like Andrea from Soda Fit. She has a pattern out. McCall Pattern Companies, they have Black pattern designers like Beauty, Jador. There's a list of some of the pattern designers that Nateida has researched so vigorously on both Nateida's Instagram and my Instagram, the original post announcing the challenge. So if you go to either one of our Instagram accounts, you'll find a list of those pattern designers. The third one is garments must be sewn and posted between February 1st and February 29th. This is the leap year, so there is 29 days in the month. So it has to be posted between those dates, and that's it.
Okay.
I'm guessing you're a deadline sewer then?
Oh, yes.
You too, Nateida? Oh, my.
Yes. Well, for some things, because, sometimes you, as a creative, we can switch our minds real quick. Or if we start multiple projects at once, which I have, and you're like, I'll put this down and switch over here and then put this down and over here. And it's like, okay, no, just stick to so you can have some things done and it doesn't feel like a rush when it gets to February, say 28th. Entries last year was February 27th. where there were a lot of entries at the last minute. But hey, that's why we have everybody say it in advance and give that advanced presentation around mid-January so people can at least start gathering their patterns, start gathering their fabrics and different things like that. So February 1st, you can kind of hit the ground running and be ready and have your submission and your entry in by the end of February. And so one of the things I do want to highlight about what Myra and I have on our Instagram, the highlight on our pages, the circle, if people click on that, they can see all of the graphics that we share with the research that was done, all of the Black pattern designers. So if you can't find the post on our actual grid, it is in our highlight on our profile that you can just click on that and see who all of the pattern designers that we have found. And again, it does say there that it's not all inclusive because there were quite a few last year that we didn't even know about that people entered and we're like, oh, we didn't know this was a Black pattern designer. And it's like, okay, awesome. We'll add them to the list. And then as the year progressed, there were new designers, pattern designers that have come out that we've added. So that has been really exciting.
All the research you've done, Nateida and Myra, is such a great resource into where you can find patterns designed by Black designers.
And I think that the great thing about being part of the challenge is you get to see everyone else. So, yeah, it's a great resource. But it's also great to see that from last year to this year, you've discovered so many more designers who just happen to be Black as well. And that was through everyone who participated. So I think that's a really good outcome.
Yes.
Most definitely. Yeah, there's been a really nice response, and it was a real learning experience for me too, but the response to the challenge has just been amazing for me. Totally amazing.
And I have to echo that, not knowing how the challenge will go over, how it will be received by the sewing community. At the time, I want to say, I don't know how many followers I had on Instagram at the time, but I will say through that challenge, and, you know, coming up on this year, the amount of people that start following our Instagram accounts has really grown tremendously, which is nice to see in the respect that when you're doing the challenge for the first time and you don't have a lot of people that follow you, or you're not one of the big names out there that's putting a challenge together and different things like that, you don't know what kind of participation that you would get or it will be received. And so when the entries were rolling in last year, I was telling my like, oh my gosh, I did not expect this many people to participate.
What changes have you noticed since last year's challenge?
For me, I have had a lot of comments of people, and I echo what Nateida said about the Instagram account followers raising this year. It's still increasing for me as soon as I posted that about the challenge. But I've had a lot of people who have contacted me that said that they watched the challenge last year and they enjoyed it, and that they didn't have an opportunity basically, and because of what you said, they didn't have enough time. Even though we gave them enough time, they just really didn't. And so now these people are actually coming back to me and say, okay, we're glad you guys are doing it again this year because I am definitely getting into the challenge this year. I heard a lot of that. And the surprising thing for me, I don't know for Nateida, but it pleased me that a lot of the people that are coming, they're not all African American. It's all races. And I'm loving that because that was something that I talked to Nateida about in the beginning of this. We talked heavily about this. I didn't want it to seem like we were just making this solely for African Americans because it is not. It's just to display those designers who work very hard and are not being showcased. So that was our point. So I'm really pleased of the response that we've gotten in that respect.
From last year, I did the Tracy Reese knit dress, the Sets of Vogue dress, and I didn't realise who Tracy Reese was. And it was only through the challenge that I got a little bit of information. And this year, where you put up all of the additional designers, that's when I decided to get, well, I think I already had the McCall's, how do you say, Beauty du jour?
Beauty. Yes.
Beauty du jour. And it was, I was waiting from last year to this year to see if you were going to run it. With that in mind, I just kept, when you actually listed her, I actually had this pattern in my stash and I thought, yes, I can do it this time for this challenge. I've been able to do a little bit more research because I was waiting and you raised it. So thank you.
And I also would like to point out for about, and I pronounced her name wrong too, many times, but Beauty Jador, she also has a private pattern label company. So if you go to her Instagram where her website is listed, she has her own set of patterns that's under her own label as well. Quite a few people last year have entered those patterns in as part of the challenge as well.
Myra, did you have something to say?
Yes, I did. You sparked that in me when you mentioned that about you did some research. And that was one of the things that was really amazing to me because it was a learning experience for me. When Nateida asked me to join this, I had to think as a co-host, what was I going to do to help promote this for her? So the only thing that I could come up with was to do research because I didn't know a lot about Black, and I'm saying this, I was totally 100% embarrassed. And I didn't know a lot about Black designers, period, whether they made a pattern or not. So I thought this was a good opportunity to go out there and research that and get some knowledge myself about the impact that African Americans had on fashion. So I started posting a lot of that stuff and I started getting a lot of feedback from the people on those posts. I guess I wasn't the only one in the dark like I thought. And it was such a learning experience for me to do that. I mean, I learned so much about the impact that we had as African Americans on the fashion industry. And it just amazed me from way, way back to the first person to someone who's been in the business for a very long time and still has an impact on the fashion industry right now. So the research for me was amazing. And the feedback on my research was amazing as well.
The listing of patterns developed by Black pattern designers is such a great resource. As a sewist, I love the fact that, now I'll know the story behind the designers for the outfits that I make. It'll mean more to me. So the listing of Black pattern designers that you've created now gives the sewing community a better understanding of the significance of their pattern choices. Well done.
So for your personal challenges for this month, have you decided what you would like to do this time around?
Well, I'll start. I have. So one of the things that's different from last year to this year, last year was a new challenge. It was fresh. You're excited and, you're ready to just go. So last year I had like a million things I wanted to do, had all these plans and I put them up. Oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. And it didn't work out that way for several reasons. But this year I kind of took a step back and looked at my closet to just see what was missing. What are some of the labels? Because my sewing for, going forward, and I kind of talked a little bit about this on my channel with my 2020 plans, is not to sew all the things, but to sew all the things that make sense.
Oh, yeah.
A cardigan, which I have been dying to do a Black cardigan for months and wanting to do like basic tops that I can interchange with maybe dress slacks or jeans, something like that type of thing. So my planning is more revolved around things that I actually need, not that, just making things just to make them, whereby in 2-3 months after making them, they're going to charity or Goodwill or something like that. I tried to make sure this year I stayed away from just wanting to just sew all the things just to sew them, but to sew the things that made sense that will fill a gap in my wardrobe this year. So I did select 3 different patterns and pieces of fabric that I'll be pulling together this month, which I'll be sharing on the channel.
Good.
Like Nateida, oh my gosh, that is a sore spot with me, making things that we have to donate or trash. I hate it. I really do. Last year, I had a lot of things going on too. Nateida and I both had a lot of things pop up we were not expecting during the challenge. So I barely made my project come to life. So this year, what I decided to do, I'm still going to be mysterious, as those of you who follow me on my YouTube channel know I'm very mysterious when it comes to my plans. I did decide absolutely 100% on what I'm going to make. I'm making 2 projects, and those 2 projects, one of them is going to be a self-draft. And the self-draft is from a Black pattern designer, but she put the pattern out, and I'm going to say it's in a magazine. That's where the pattern is, and it's a self-draft. So I'm going to do that, and she is new. So the other one is an established pattern maker. I'll give you a hint, and I didn't do this on my YouTube channel, which is actually coming up soon. I have another video coming up soon, but I'm going to give you a hint. It is the same designer that I used last year. So.
Awesome. I think we've covered just about everything regarding the challenge and where it's going to head this year.
I did want to add, too, the thing that we are doing slightly different for 2020 that has helped Myra and I greatly, because like we said last year, the entries and everything, if people are following the hashtag BHMpatterndesigners, they'll see, and you can actually follow the actual hashtag on Instagram. We recruited help.
Yes.
We have 4 lovely ambassadors that helping us promote it throughout the entire month. They all have YouTube channels, and so they will also be helping us, which helps Myra and I, where we don't feel like, well, we know the challenge is coming up February 1st. So I've already had in my mind, yes, people are going to see my face probably every day or every other day on Instagram stories talking about this challenge. But it's nice when you have ambassadors and others that are helping promote it and talk about what they're doing, because obviously when you have people helping, they have reach to individuals and people that maybe don't follow you by chance or anything like that. So we definitely love that. And the second thing is that we have a bit of a theme this year, and it's for those who are entering to think about who might inspire them in their dress and their style, that they use that person or persons as their style inspiration. And so it doesn't have to be a celebrity, Hollywood celebrity or anything like that. It could be somebody on Instagram, somebody from our very own sewing community. It could be someone on your job that you just really admire their look, their fashion, their style, their sense of style. And so it could be your next door neighbor. And so that could just be as simple as that to inspire you to do something a little bit different or just try something new. And so, yeah, we're definitely excited about that this year.
Yes, we are, definitely. And they're beautiful ladies. They're all pretty much well known in the sewing community. So it's going to be awesome to have them on board with us.
Yeah, I've already had a look at the person who inspires me, and it's Sheila Powell. When I first looked at your YouTube videos, and I thought, who is it? I thought, well, other than Myra, I love your style and the way you dress.
Thank you.
But I've been looking at Sheila for like years on her blog. So from my perspective, I thought, yeah, so this is all my planning for the challenge.
Okay.
Awesome. She gave us a tidbit.
Okay.
Yeah, Sheila has great style. She does. And she has great sewing and crocheting too. She does a lot of crocheting.
Yes, she does. Yeah, so shout out to Sheila.
Yes.
That's great. I think we can safely say that we've covered all the aspects of the challenge for people to go and have a look at the show notes, go to your YouTube channels, which I'll have on our show notes on your podcast page, and anything else that comes up, I'm happy to keep that refreshed for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And thank you again for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having us. It's been a pleasure. Oh my God, it's been an honor to do this.
Yes, I greatly, greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
On our website, seworganisedstylepodcast.com, we have all the details about BHM Pattern Designers, including the links to Myra and Nateida's YouTube accounts, links to their 4 supportive ambassadors, and also to their very generous sponsors. Last year I learnt a lot from this challenge through the posts that Myra and Nateida put up. And I know this year they're building their designer resources so that we can benefit from that. Have a great birthday month, Nateida. This episode of So Organised Style Podcast was produced by me, Maria Theoharis, with permission from Nateida and Myra. Sound by bensound.com. So Organised Style, spelt with an S, not a Z, is available on our website soorganizedstylepodcast.com with all the links to this podcast and our earlier podcasts as well. You can also find our podcast on Apple iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Libsyn and Castbox. Subscribe to our podcast to catch every new episode and tell your friends to listen in to our earlier podcasts. Watch out for Amy's next Brisbane Spoolette podcast episode. You'll love it. Thanks for listening.